Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Like Queen Lisa. And today we have, instead of, instead of Nana's favorite kid, we've got the actual Nana. I couldn't tie that in right, but Nana's on the other side of this. She's going to share we're discussing some hot topics and news. And I said, hey, why don't you jump on with me? So we've got Nana right after this. Give us a like and share the video. Be right back right after this.
Where did Lisa go?
Hi, Mom. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. I'm glad to see you. Thanks for jumping on here with me. Gave you a call before and we started chatting about all the craziness in the world. And I said, well, Johnny can't make it tonight. He's taking the kiddos somewhere. And so I thought I'd jump on and just kind of give a couple updates with make sure everybody's kind of seeing the same things I'm seeing and make sure they know where to go watch some of the things we've had on lately or that I've done lately. Everybody make sure you go over to the Very Dow channel on YouTube and watch the Unpacking the Amicus on part 3. It's got some updates and some interesting information about, well, actually that one and the interview right before that with the interview with Nick Morgan from ICANN. Reggie joined us on that one, and Reggie kind of explains or unpacks a use case for the Veritasium token that's proposed. So that's very, very interesting. Those are two great videos to go watch. Then tonight I'm going to be on with Bix and JC and Snippy, and we're already fighting. So it'll be a fun one. Not fighting. We're having
Conversations.
lively conversations. Yes. And sharing ideas. The irony is we align with we all will see a lot of the same things or share a lot of the same things. Like I shared the document, the Adams Brunson, and Snippy's like, yeah, I just saw that, and so he had already seen it somewhere or whatever, and so we all started talking about that together. And then I'll throw something else in, or I'll share the Kim Clemente prophecy that I shared with my patron group, where at about 35 minutes, which we all know who our 35th president was, they start, or no, I'm sorry, take that back. At 1:35 on JC and JC's interview with 107, he literally 107 starts describing something, and you guys should all go listen to it. The recent interview with 107 on Jean-Claude's channel, and he's pointing at, he always points his camera to something like his boots or something, or he'll have like something in the screen, and he's pointing his camera to a golden bar, but it's a bar that you like get and make drinks on or whatever, but it's a gold bar. Get that, guys? And he's explaining basically like the VE rents. He's explaining Veritasium. And anyways, it was really interesting. So I think that's where people give me crap and say like, oh, you have so much hopium and whatever. Well, because I keep seeing these things that there is a plan. Well, there's my beautiful son, Jackson Feist, in the chat.
Oh, hello.
Hey, buddy. I love you.
Huh. Hey, Jackson.
Yeah, that's my son. So anyway, I think there is a bright future, and not to say there's a plan for you to stop taking action yourself, because the plan is that we, the people, will take action and speak for ourselves. The plan is that we will throw off a tyrannical government, if that is imposed on us. Not saying that it is, but if that were to happen, or if you believe that is happening, then anyway, so I'm not trying to hustle anything that I don't seriously believe, myself. I also saw, Mom, I shared this with you because I always try to cheer you up. Um, let's see here. This was something I shared with the guys last night too. There is a new, so you guys know that they recently put the or opened the seat in the Congress, or I've got to find that article to find my information on the details of that. If anybody has a link to that or has the details of the specifics of the indigenous person, I believe it was Wilma Main Killer out of the Cherokee tribe that was given the position in the Senate, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. And Bix made a comment on the show Monday. If you guys didn't see the show on Monday, Bix came and joined me. It was a great show. We talked all about FTX and Tether and Coinbase, having to decide not to go public with USDC because they are anticipating bankruptcy. Once again, no stable coins are stable except Bitcoin and Litecoin. And I went on a whole tangent. I lost myself. Anyway, then, the Indian nation thing and being acknowledged. And you guys know Bix calls it Nesra, Jessera, and he gets real angry if I even suggest that somebody was telling me about this thing called Nasera, and people call Trump Sara in some of the truther communities. And I'm not saying it's true or it's not true, but it sure smells like it, or smells like some of the things that are written in there. So there's this article came out that the new famous Oklahoma Native American ballerinas are to be on this $1 coin. It says the U.S. Mint will release a $1 coin in 2023 featuring Maria Tallchief and a nod to 5 moons. Remind me to come back to the 5 moons thing. It relates to World War I and a group that tried, well, I'll just go ahead and say now, a group that tried to, Sean told me to go watch this movie, and I have not had a chance to watch it yet, so I don't have all the information, but there's a movie called Amsterdam, and if you go watch it right now, it talks about how the movie info is that it's a shocking secret plot in American history in 1933, and it's about what happened after World War I and trying to make the U.S. into like a communist country. So go check that out. And there is a part in there, and I can't remember, he mentioned it quickly on the show this morning on World Blockchain Roundtable about 5 moons, or an organization called 5 moons. So like I said, I'm just hearing this today. I was in meetings all day today, and I haven't had a chance to do my research on that, find out, but you guys can check that out, and we can all kind of learn and discover together and use our brains. It'll be really exciting. But so I think that's a nod to this 5 moons ballerinas. Also, you can't be on a coin or on there is a federal law that you can't be on any money unless you're dead. I read that in the Mint papers the other day. I didn't know that. So because they couldn't put these 5 moon ladies on until one of the 5 moon ballerinas just died recently. And so that's why they're able to release this one. So this says the U.S. Mint will release a new line of $1 coins featuring recognition of Oklahoma's famed 5 moon Native American ballerinas. And then it goes on. But the coin, so they're on the tail side. The coin's head side will retain the central figure Sacagawea, carrying her son Jean-Baptiste. So this is the Sacagawea coin, which then Public and I were disputing last night. He's like, Lisa, they're not real gold coins. They're just like tokens to be used on the subway or whatever. I'm like, well, that's not what this says. It says a gold coin. It says a $1 coin on this one. There's several other articles that I found, and some of them said gold, some of them said. So I don't know. Last I heard, it was when I looked up the Sacagawea coin, that was like bronze and something else. And then it had, because of the way the metals did, it had like a gold tone to it. So that may still be accurate, and that maybe that is going to be the dollar coin. But they're having a whole series of these, and there's different women on all of them. So very interesting. They could definitely be used in those ITMs that I talk about all the time. What was the other thing I wanted to tell everybody about? Mom, what are your thoughts on going back to or using coins for an interim, or the Treasury going back to a gold standard?
When I saw that coin, in light of everything going on, my first thought was, oh, are they going to like revalue the dollar, and somehow that coin's going to be worth $10 or $100, so that you wouldn't have to carry a godzillion of them around to buy something,
Mm-hmm.
And of course, then your prices in the market, things would be, adjusted to. I don't know. I just that did cross my mind. I wouldn't mind some coins. There's times where, maybe you don't want to use digital, and paper is dirty, and it, I don't know.
I think there's also a psychological thing about, the coins in your pocket. You notice when you spend them.
Yes. There's,
and so they don't want you to have savings, the bad guys. So of course they want us to get those coins out of our hands. Oh, you have a promissory note. You don't want to carry that around. You don't want to take care of your own money. Let someone else take care of it. It's that whole kind of train of thought, I guess.
That was part of why they pushed credit cards on us. And they wanted you to spend, because it doesn't feel like you're spending real money when you charge it to a card, where if you've got $100 bill in your pocket, you might kind of hesitate to break it, because then it's gone, and you're more aware of that it being gone. And of course their whole
and that switched people from spending money they had to spending money they hadn't even earned yet.
Yes.
That credit card. I mean, talk about debt.
And then and besides creating more debt, then they have the honors interest rates, so I mean, it's just theft all around. So yeah, I'd be okay with some coins.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, especially when, they retooled the whole mint. Was it last year? Bick said they shut it down in June or something. And they now have on the Silver Eagles, they have that little security mark or whatever. And you know how they stopped producing whatever Eagles? He's been reporting on all this and what's missing. Like, what if they start making them in gold and they have that security mark, and it relates back to a QR? I don't know if he said this on the show Monday, or if we were talking about what ifs after the show, but he was like, what if it relates, and the gold is somewhere safe, but you can use your NFT to spend portions of that gold piece of yours, but there's transparency in it, but also privacy for the individual, but transparency for the treasury or the holder of it. I don't know how it's gonna.
Well, someone also was talking about using diamond dust in that little notch for some kind of unique signature, and that could be the ID, and then you put it on the blockchain to account for it. I don't know. Interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah. There's also, when Bix was on Monday, we talked about the FTX thing. And you guys know I've been reading these books from Whitney Webb and One Nation Under Blackmail. It's just incredible. And this FTX thing, I do think it's going to, like, I was really surprised Charlie went to the car thing the other day to see his buddies or whatever. And they were just now talking. They had just heard about FTX. And I was like, that happened a month ago. Like, but that's
the news is spreading to the normies,
Yes. And that's how long it takes, I guess. And then when you look at it, the people that really are going to get hurt, the fleecing, and I'll go into that a little bit more, is the American people, or the little guys. I don't know that I don't think it just extended to Americans. Don't get me wrong. But the little guys are the ones that keep having to pay for this. And then looking at these, she wrote all these books with public documents. This is not conspiracy. This is all, she has everything noted and, proof of all of it. Everything she has in here. And so I got frustrated. It was taking me too long. I only was like halfway through the first book. So I grabbed my second book. I just flip it open and it says Oklahoma. And I'm like, what's little old Oklahoma doing in this book? And I look and it says ONG. And I'm like, that's my gas company. Not like you have a choice around here. You only can get gas from ONG. But then they start talking about how, in the late 90s, that this guy, Stuart Prince, was invited to join this company that they started, Dynamic Energy. You can exchange, as I'm speaking, the dynamic energy with the term FTX, because it's just a shell. And then, he was invited by a friend at the Democratic National Committee, who, anyway, there's ties with Epstein and the whole thing. He goes into it and says that these people, they talk about how they were, the company's coffers were used to pay more than $3 million for dividends, unearned consulting fees, flying people around, investments in real estate, whatever. So the way they explained it is Dynamic Energy would supply ONG with gas at over market rates that exceeded the market price. This led to subsequent lawsuit and exposed that over $65 million in overcharges were paid by ONG customers. In other words, the wealth was being accrued by the Lambs and these other people in the Dynamic Energy, was being milked from the American public and sent back to politicians and all this. So they all had like little hand in the coffer at Dynamic Energy. They oversell to ONG, and then the money goes round and round. She goes and stops in their pocket. So it's a fleecing of American people, of the little guy. And that's what I think they've just had this model over the years, and they just keep replaying it with new puppets.
Without a doubt.
Well, what Enron was probably the same thing. It's just the next Ponzi, right?
Right. And all the high dollar, high paid lobbyists in Washington, full-time jobs, they're part of getting that kickback. And, it's just, the corruption is just beyond the pale.
Yeah. Developing public officials is what they called it. I mean, it's just disgusting, really. It says that the DOJ, Webster Hubbell at the time, turned a blind eye. And when Hubbell was asked about the family during the course of the inquiry, he and his lawyers declined to comment. No comment.
It's just a more sophisticated model of the company store. The old miners that, they lived in the shacks that the company provided, and their only alternative to shop was at the company store.
Right.
So the company paid them, the company set the prices, and kept them in debt. It was just virtual slavery. So now we just have these much more sophisticated models that keep the American public in debt and enslaved and having to work those
Right.
9 to 5 if they're lucky, but more likely 60-hour weeks for a lot of people. And
Right. Because where do you get the loan from your house? From a bank that was loaned that money by the Fed who had no money. But then you're ordered to pay interest back, and then also to go work for, to be able to pay that, you pay taxes that you are not voluntary. They say they're voluntary, but if you don't pay your taxes, then you can't have your licenses to be able to have a job and feed your family and live in the places you want to live and all that.
And, we could go down a lot of rabbit holes here, like, a 30-year mortgage for your house. Why? You could, let's say a couple of years ago, you could buy a $60,000 car and pay it off in 3 to 5 years. You can buy a $120,000 house and it has to be 30 years, and you're going to pay for it 3 times over.
Right.
And it was just a way to keep you never, barely have your head above water, and not to have time, personal time to develop yourself or spend with your family.
So that they can capture the next generation,
right?
And and mind control them through MK Ultra.
Education has been all dumbed down so that you're just good little slaves. Let's not critical think. Let's not really like creative learn. No, you learn to memorize. You learn to recite back to us what we tell you. You learn the rules. It's all about being a slave.
Yeah. This morning on World Blockchain Roundtable, we were talking about history and the recording of history and all this. And I thought we have a gap where we don't really have history, because we only have the only documentation, because of censorship and the erasing of free thought or free speech and critical thinking, the lack of critical thinking. There's like a very small window, and Joe brought it up. Well, there's memes. That's a very small window of truth that is allowed or can play out. But everything else has been wiped out other than the narrative, which is not the truth.
Well,
if you speak something other than what is the narrative, they say, where's the link? If we finally are learning now that not to trust the link, where's the source? The source is my brain. And
let me tell you about something. I just
thinking
a photo recently. I think it was on a Telegram channel, so some of y'all might have seen it. Where we may be missing 1,000 years of our history. They showed a building. This was an old, probably turn of the century photograph of this building, and it had the Roman numerals of the date, and the date on it was 890 or something like that. 890, I guess AD, yeah. And then all of a sudden, there's a modern picture of it, and they put an M or whatever, something in front of it to make it 1890. They've like so all of a sudden now you think, oh, that building was resurrected in 1890. No, it was in 890. So what happened to that 1,000 years of history that somebody wiped out?
Well, the Smithsonian was here, and they've been known to haul off giant bones. They're in that ancient apocalypse series. They were showing that it didn't make sense that there's these mounds, and they seem to follow the astrology of like the moon, where you could see like, oh, farmers maybe used it to know like when planting seasons were. Oh, this is when the new moon is here. You can see it. It causes shade or shadow from this or that. Well, then they start, digging up these sites, and one of them found like this whole, it's more than just a building, but like not quite a town, I guess, but a portion of a city or whatever that had purposefully been buried to preserve it so that it could be found. Because some of the archaeologists are saying that, possibly because they knew there was this destruction of, very strange that there's no buildings here, and people try to say, oh, well, because Indians just only built, only had their teepees and whatever. This is just idiotic, and so there is a discovery. I think, there's a lot missing for us. And that's where I go back to when I see stuff like the Native American woman finally, after 200 years of being promised a seat in Congress. I believe it just happened with this next 118th Congress. And I really need to find that information. I need to find my link and be able to prove it, show it, or whatever. But I'll look for that before my show tonight with Jean-Claude and Snippy and Vix. But then I see this coin come out, and and I'm in Oklahoma, and there's these lawsuits going on that have been going on for a while with the Native American tribal lands and the issues with all of that. And so I think that's part of it. That's part of healing our land, our nation, is making that right. And Bix explained, well, that would make sense if we're going to use gold as our money because there's so much of it, but we would have to do the right thing with the Native Americans because we had plundered so much from them in the Grand Canyon and all of that. So very interesting to me. I could see all of that kind of playing out. So that's where I get my hopium every day. I don't know about you guys. There was some breaking news that the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, passed in the House and is on its way to the Senate. And the former vice president, or the person playing him at this time, is not in support of this because it got rid of the vaccine mandate for military and did all of that. So I think that'll be interesting to see how the timing of that plays out, and some of these other court cases that are going on. That was the other thing. Like forever, people were screaming, "Oh no!" Because the questionable counting or whatever that went on in 2020. See, the courts are, saying there's nothing there. It wasn't that there's nothing there. It's that it wasn't appropriate to hear at those levels. So it had to climb the ladder to get to the Supreme Court. And now it's finally there. And so that's going to be interesting as well. And there's so many of these things like tipping all at once. And that's what did something stupid happen this morning? Oh, Brittany Griner. And I say Brittany in quotes because I don't know why you call a boy Brittany, but Joey swapped him for some Russian terrorist or something.
For a really bad Russian terrorist.
Really bad, terrible person.
Meanwhile, we have a Marine, Paul Whelan, in a Russian jail that, in my estimation, should have gotten out first before, that American sports person.
Not to mention they are within days, or weeks, if not within days, of shipping Julian Assange to the U.S. And my friend Greg Lang really keeps up on all of that and is very passionate about that. But that's going to be a significant blow to the U.S. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but everyone needs to go fight for Julian Assange release. I don't understand. The boys were all banging on Trump this morning. He's a jerk. Why didn't he pardon Assange? The conspiracy girl of me says he probably did. This is just a movie part because it doesn't make sense to me that he wouldn't be pardoned. And on that Kim Clemente video that I shared with my Patreon group, it talks about there will be another Snowden. And
is that Elon with the revealing?
That's what I'm wondering. Is it Elon or is it Assange with more? I don't know that Assange could have more information at this point.
Yeah, certainly.
I mean, if Assange is brought here and there's a trial, part of it is, well, why are you locking him up? You have to disclose that, right?
Right.
That would be kind of horrible for them. And so if they don't Epstein him first before that ever comes to fruition, if they are still in control, it would be really interesting. Also, yeah, Light Shadow is saying USD not accepted anymore internationally since November 24th. I don't know the exact days. I don't know specifics on that. I think that's very interesting. I know that yesterday or last night that President Xi, or maybe it was as of this morning, went to go make a deal with Saudi Arabia. And that will, I believe, be the nail in the coffin for the petrodollar, which does not mean the end of the US dollar, because as Bix said on the show Monday, constitutionally, this was so ironic to me and I jumped all over this. Constitutionally, the US dollar is
Silver. No?
it's not I want to say this in one way that's very shocking because my mother taught me that words are powerful, but I'm not going to say it in a way, but
Oh, come on.
I'm dying to, but it could be misleading if I said it that way. So, but is the same weight and was, I don't know the exact history. Anyway, this is Mexican peso is a silver and it's the same amount as a Mexican peso. And that's how they came to the amount of the constitutional dollar, is what Bix told me on Monday. And I was like, are you kidding me? I said, so remember when on DJT Day, when oil went negative and Trump said, don't worry, Mexico will pay us back in another way.
Right.
So will that be our new constitutional dollar?
Silver.
Will we go back to a constitutional dollar? Will we go back to constitutional money and we will be USM, US, M for Mexico, CA for Canada, and we will make America great again.
That could happen.
It could happen.
Could happen.
So,
and really, in the face of what's going on with the BRICS and everything else, that probably would be the smart thing to do, just from a strength point of view. Assuming, we can kick all the bad guys out and all.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Joe Biden's had black eyes for a while, and last time I saw stuff with him, originally he had blue eyes. So I don't know. I think that's kind of a very telling tale.
Well, maybe.
Yes, for sure. For sure. I want to make sure I gave everybody all my little updates. I think that's about everything. I just want to make sure everybody checks out. I'm sure the conversation will be very lively this evening. I will have my battle gear on. Snippy's already giving me shit over the text messages. So we'll have a good time. They're great guys, and I have a lot of respect for them, so we can have lively conversations.
Well, we'll root for you in the chat.
Yeah. I got to go do my homework and make sure I get something to eat before I get on there with them. But it's tonight at 7. I believe it's 7 Eastern. I need to check my calendar.
You mean 8? You mean 8 Eastern, right?
7, is it 8 Eastern? So 7 my time.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna look, but
double check on Jean-Claude's channel.
I'm thinking.
Yes, let's see. 7 p.m. says 7 p.m., but I think that's my time.
That'd be your time,
yeah. So we'll
it's
see.
2 hours on my thing, so that would be.
Yep, that would be about 2 hours and 10 minutes from now. So, all right. Yeah, Crypto Farmer says 7 p.m. Central. Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome. Yeah, I don't know who Mel Carmen is. Mel Carmen wants to talk to Bix about XRP. That is a lost cause. It doesn't matter what Mel Carmen thinks about XRP. Bix is not interested.
Uncle Cliff says that they have really crappy code. He said XRP really no bueno.
Yeah, if you choose to hold it and you like to support bankers' work, then you should do that. Do your own research, everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mom, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. It's always good to talk to you. I know everybody likes to see your smiling face. You're the
I,
legacy of our family. I was talking to Bix about that. I was like, this is so wild to think that, and then I started writing a song for you.
oh my.
The Riverboat
you
Gambler.
you and Bix.
Yes. Well, I couldn't sleep the other night and I got up and I got a little tune in my head and then I started making jokes to
You
myself
know,
about it and putting them
your
in there.
your sister, the biochemist background girl, was starting to explain to me late last night about
She doesn't
how
make jokes.
high risk people have this certain thing in them, chemically or whatever, biologically. Thinking, okay, I don't want to hear it.
What is she saying? Iris people?
That there's been a study that, and I can't remember all the details, but the is it plasmosis or something, that bug or whatever it is that you can get from cat litter, I guess. But apparently,
Oh.
like 60% of the population is positive for it, and they don't know it. But or maybe it's 30%. I don't know, some percent. But there was a study done, and people that are more risk tolerant, that will take, riverboat gambler type, that will
Mm.
take risks, their high percentage of them have that, and there's thinking that contributes to their brain or taking high risk. Anyway, she's always coming up with these estimates.
Okay, but is she saying that you got like
Oh,
worms from cat litter
not
until your
worms,
brain damage and you take risks?
not worms, but it's a bacteria, parasite, virus. I don't know what it is.
Parasite from
I,
interesting.
I don't know, but I'm
Was
not
that
gonna.
a compliment or not? I'm not sure that was a compliment.
And I'm not sure she was applying to me. She was just telling me
Okay.
about this study. And
Okay.
oh my
Interesting.
god,
I was like, wait a minute, Mom. I don't know that that was a compliment.
no, it,
You're definitely a risk taker. That's for sure. Uh, oh yes, Daddy O. Of course, that's a country song. I don't know any others. I don't think. And it's called Riverboat Gambler. Yeah.
well, Kenny Rogers did that one, right? That when to hold and when to fold and all that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where all that came about, but anyway,
I think this one's pretty good. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna let Bix tell me what he thinks. I may have to tweak it a little bit.
you two are a mess.
But we're going to do a meetup in late January, early February, and maybe I'll have it ready and can have him sing it to you.
Well,
So
that'll be a real event for sure.
yeah, that'll be fun.
I guess I'll have to be there. I won't miss that.
Yeah, you're going to be there for sure. We'll get everybody there. It's going to be whatever we do. We haven't got it figured out yet, but we're going to get that. I've got Paigey and Joshy working on it with me. So they're a great team and great partnership, and they get stuff done. And so we'll have a good experience for everybody. So, well, I'm going to head out so I can grab some dinner and make sure I rest up
All righty. We'll
for
see you.
my conspiracy battle. All right. See you guys tonight on Jean-Claude's channel. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Please give us a like, share this video, and give me your thoughts in the comments below. And if anybody can find that link about the spot on, I believe it's the Senate and I believe it's Wilma Man Killer, but I'm not 100% sure.
She died in 2010, didn't she?
Man Killer?
Yeah. At the age 64. I saw something like that. So maybe it's to honor her, or maybe it's her prodigy or something. I don't know. We'll have to look.
I was going to say, I worked for her attorney in college, so I didn't think she was that old, but maybe I'm getting a different one in my head. I don't know. I'll go check it out, and I will have some information tonight if it comes up on the discussion.
All right, sweetie.
All right. Love you, Mom.
Love you too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.